Have you ever wondered why, despite your best efforts to eat healthily and stay active, your energy levels keep dropping and your diabetes symptoms seem to worsen? What if I told you that the natural remedies you've been counting on might actually be working against you? Today, I'm going to reveal a startling truth about certain healthy foods that could be silently sabotaging your blood sugar control, draining your energy, and making it harder to manage your diabetes after 50. By the end of this video, you'll discover which common natural foods to avoid, and more importantly, which powerful alternatives can help stabilize your blood sugar, boost your energy, and potentially reduce your dependence on medication. This information could transform your health journey and save you years of frustration. But I need to warn you, what I'm about to share might challenge everything you've been told about natural diabetes management. Stay with me until the end, because the final remedy I'll share is something that changed thousands of lives, including my own. If you're serious about taking control of your health naturally, this might be the most important video you watch this year. Have you ever wondered why your blood sugar readings fluctuate wildly even though you're eating what everyone calls healthy foods? Why does managing your diabetes feel like an uphill battle despite following all the conventional advice? Why do your energy levels crash in the afternoon, leaving you unable to enjoy activities with your grandchildren or pursue the hobbies you love? Is it just age catching up with you, or is something else quietly working against your best efforts to stay healthy? Now here's something that might surprise you. Sometimes it's not what you're not doing. It's what you're already doing without even knowing the harm it's causing. There's a silent mistake most people with diabetes over 50 make every single day, and they make it with full confidence, thinking they're making the right choice. Why? Because all their lives they've been told that certain natural foods are good, that they're wholesome, that they'll help control blood sugar. And yes, for most people without diabetes, these foods are fine, but here's the truth no one talks about. Not all natural foods are safe for people with diabetes after 50. In fact, some of these foods, the ones we consume every week without thinking twice, can silently spike your blood sugar, trigger inflammation throughout your body, drain your energy, and make managing your diabetes increasingly difficult over time. Foods that are marketed as health foods could actually be working against your blood sugar control, your energy levels, and your overall well-being. You see, as we age, our bodies change. Our metabolism slows down, our insulin sensitivity decreases, and the foods that once helped us can now quietly start to harm us, especially if you have diabetes. They may look innocent, they may be recommended by well-meaning friends, but inside, they're loaded with compounds that can destabilize your blood sugar, trigger system-wide inflammation, and gradually deplete your energy stores. And the worst part? The damage is slow, silent, unnoticed until one day you feel that persistent fatigue, that brain fog that won't lift, those stubborn extra pounds that won't budge no matter what you try. Today I'm going to reveal 7 natural foods that everyone with diabetes over 50 should avoid, especially if you want to protect your energy, maintain healthy blood sugar levels, and potentially reduce your dependence on medication. Each one of these foods may seem harmless or even beneficial, but for someone with diabetes over 50, they're not. And once you know the truth, you'll never look at your kitchen the same way again. So if you care about your health, if you want to regain control over your diabetes naturally, stay with me till the very end. This could be the wake-up call your body has been waiting for. But before we dive in, take a second. If you're someone who values natural approaches to health, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because here we uncover the truths no one talks about. And if you're watching right now, I want to know you're with me. Type health in the comments if this video speaks to you. Type energy if you're looking for ways to boost your vitality naturally. Your voice matters more than you know. Now let's start with the first natural food on our list. It's praised for its health benefits and considered a superfood, but for people with diabetes over 50, it might be doing the exact opposite of what you hope. Let's talk about agave nectar. Food number 1. Agave nectar, the blood sugar betrayer. Agave nectar, it's natural, it's marketed as a low glycemic sweetener, and for years it's been praised as a healthier alternative to sugar, especially for people with diabetes. But here's the twist. While many believe agave is gentle on blood sugar for those with diabetes over 50, it might be silently causing harm. You see, agave is packed with fructose, much more than regular table sugar or even high fructose corn syrup. And although fructose doesn't directly raise blood glucose levels the way other sugars do, that doesn't mean it's harmless. In fact, for someone with diabetes over 50, it could be worse. Let me explain. As we age, our liver function naturally decreases. It doesn't process fructose as efficiently as it once did, and when you have diabetes, your liver is already under stress. When large amounts of fructose hit your liver, it can't handle the load properly. What happens next? That fructose gets converted into fat, triggering a cascade of problems. This process can lead to increased insulin resistance, the very thing you're trying to combat if you have diabetes. What does that mean for you? Higher blood sugar readings that don't make sense given what you think you're eating. Increased difficulty controlling your diabetes over time. The need for more medication, not less. But it doesn't stop there. This fructose overload can trigger inflammation throughout your body, leaving you feeling achy, tired, and foggy-headed. You might notice unexplained fatigue after consuming foods sweetened with agave, difficulty concentrating, or a general sense of unwellness that you can't quite put your finger on. And here's what makes agave particularly dangerous. It feels like you're making a healthy choice. It's found in health food stores. It's in products labeled suitable for diabetics. It's recommended in natural health circles. The deception runs deep, and it's costing you your health one spoonful at a time. What makes this especially troubling is that the effects aren't immediate. Agave doesn't hurt you in a dramatic, obvious way. It doesn't cause instant pain or clear symptoms. Instead, it creeps in slowly, little by little, until one day you realize your diabetes is harder to control than ever before, and you have no idea why. The saddest part? Most people with diabetes have no idea that the natural sweetener they're using to stay healthy could be part of the reason their condition is worsening each year. So what can you do? You don't have to avoid all sweetness in your life, but you do need to know when to say enough, especially if you've been struggling with unexplained increases in blood sugar or finding your diabetes harder to manage. The damage from agave is quiet but real. Now, if agave nectar, the sweetener known for being diabetic-friendly, can be this harmful, what about the next food? It's consumed daily by millions, recommended by health experts worldwide, and considered a nutritional powerhouse. But it might be fooling you and sabotaging your diabetes management efforts. Let's talk about whole wheat bread. Food number 2, whole wheat bread, the blood sugar spike in disguise. Whole wheat bread. It's promoted as the healthy alternative to white bread. We're told it's high in fiber, full of nutrients, and better for blood sugar control. But for people with diabetes over 50, the truth is very different. Whole wheat bread may contain more fiber than white bread, but it's still made from wheat that's been ground into flour. And when wheat is processed this way, even if it's whole, it can raise blood sugar levels just as quickly as pure table sugar. Yes, you heard that right. That healthy whole wheat toast could be spiking your blood sugar as much as a spoonful of sugar. The reason lies in how our bodies digest flour products. Once ground into flour, the protective fiber matrix of the wheat kernel is disrupted, allowing digestive enzymes to break down the starches very rapidly. For someone with diabetes over 50, whose insulin response is already compromised, this means a sudden surge in blood glucose that your body simply can't handle efficiently. You might notice this effect if you've ever tested your blood sugar an hour after eating whole wheat bread. That unexplained high reading even though you thought you were making a healthy choice. Or perhaps you've felt that mid-afternoon crash, that sudden wave of fatigue or hunger, shortly after a sandwich made with whole wheat bread. It doesn't stop there. For many people with diabetes over 50, wheat products can trigger inflammation in the digestive tract, which can then spread throughout the body. This systemic inflammation doesn't just make you feel lousy, it actively worsens insulin resistance, making your diabetes harder to control over time. You might experience bloating, unexpected weight gain, especially around the midsection, joint, pain that seems to worsen after consuming wheat products, or brain fog that makes thinking clearly difficult. These aren't just random symptoms, they're your body's way of telling you something's wrong. And here's the most dangerous part. Because whole wheat bread has been promoted as a healthy choice for decades, especially for those with diabetes, most people increase their consumption when diagnosed. They switch from white bread to whole wheat, thinking they're doing something positive for their health, never realizing they might be making their condition worse. The deception is powerful because it's backed by outdated nutritional advice that doesn't take into account how aging changes the way our bodies respond to foods, especially when diabetes is present. That's why it's so important to question conventional wisdom when it comes to managing diabetes after 50. So what's the alternative? Do you have to give up sandwiches and toast forever? Absolutely not. Later in this video, I'll share blood sugar-friendly alternatives that can satisfy your cravings without sending your glucose levels on a roller coaster ride. Alternatives that can help you regain control over your diabetes naturally, using the power of truly diabetic-friendly foods. Now, if whole wheat bread, the staple food recommended by diabetes educators worldwide, can have this effect, what about something considered even healthier? Something natural, sweet, and loaded with vitamins. A fruit that everyone associates with health and vitality, but might be a hidden enemy for those with diabetes over 50. Let's talk about bananas. Food number 3. Bananas, the natural sugar bomb. Bananas. They're soft, sweet, and packed with potassium. We're told they help with energy, prevent muscle cramps, and provide vital nutrients. But for people with diabetes over 50, the reality is starkly different. A medium banana contains about 27 grams of carbohydrates, with 14 grams coming from natural sugars. That's equivalent to more than 3 teaspoons of sugar hitting your bloodstream at once. And because bananas are soft and easy to digest, these sugars enter your bloodstream rapidly, causing a quick and dramatic spike in blood glucose levels. 4. Someone with diabetes over 50, whose insulin response is already compromised by age and the condition itself. This rapid rise in blood sugar can be particularly problematic. Your body simply can't produce enough insulin fast enough to handle the surge, leaving your blood glucose elevated for hours. You might notice increased thirst after eating a banana, unusual fatigue about an hour after consumption, or even symptoms, like blurred vision or headaches if your blood sugar rises significantly. These aren't coincidences. They're direct consequences of consuming a fruit that's simply too high in fast-acting carbohydrates for your body to handle efficiently. Beyond the immediate blood sugar impact, regular consumption of high-sugar fruits, like bananas, can contribute to long-term insulin resistance. Each time your blood sugar spikes dramatically, your cells become a little more resistant to the effects of insulin, making your diabetes progressively harder to manage over time. This can lead to increasing medication needs, more difficult weight management, and greater risk of diabetes-related complications, all while you think you're eating healthy by choosing natural foods like bananas. What's particularly misleading is how bananas are often recommended as a quick energy source for people feeling fatigued. For someone with diabetes over 50, this advice couldn't be more counterproductive. While you might feel a brief energy boost, it's quickly followed by a crash that leaves you feeling more tired than before, creating a vicious cycle of energy, highs and lows that wreak havoc on your productivity and well-being. And let's talk about weight management, something many people with diabetes struggle with. Bananas, with their high sugar content and easy digestibility, can make it significantly harder to maintain a healthy weight. The blood sugar spikes they cause trigger insulin surges, and insulin is your body's primary fat storage hormone. More insulin circulating in your system means more of what you eat gets stored as fat, particularly around your midsection. That's why you might notice that despite eating what you believe is a healthy diet rich in natural foods like bananas, you're still struggling with stubborn belly fat that refuses to budge no matter how much you exercise. So if bananas aren't your friend after 50 with diabetes, what is? Don't worry. I'll be sharing fruits that are genuinely diabetes-friendly later in this video. Fruits that can satisfy your sweet tooth without sending your blood glucose on a wild ride. But first, let's expose another supposedly healthy food that might be sabotaging your efforts to control your diabetes naturally. Now, if bananas, with their reputation for providing quick, natural energy, can be this problematic, what about something even more widely recommended? A breakfast staple, that's frequently suggested for people with diabetes, but might be doing more harm than good. Let's talk about oatmeal. Food number 4, oatmeal, the breakfast betrayal. Oatmeal. It's been praised as the perfect breakfast for diabetes management. High in fiber, heart-healthy, slow digesting, at least that's what we've been told. But for many people with diabetes over 50, traditional oatmeal can be a blood sugar disaster waiting to happen. Here's why. Most commercial oatmeal, even the kinds labeled old-fashioned or steel-cut, are still processed grains that break down into glucose relatively quickly in your digestive system. For someone with diabetes over 50, whose metabolism has naturally slowed and whose insulin response isn't what it used to be, this can lead to significant blood sugar spikes, despite oatmeal's reputation as a slow-release carbohydrate. You might have noticed this effect yourself if you've ever tested your blood sugar 2 hours after an oatmeal breakfast. That unexpectedly high reading isn't a fluke. It's a direct result of consuming a food that your body, in its current state, simply cannot process efficiently. The problem gets even worse when you consider how oatmeal is typically prepared. Most people add fruit, often high-sugar varieties like bananas, honey, maple syrup, or brown sugar to make it palatable. This turns a marginally acceptable food into a genuine blood sugar nightmare, combining processed grains with additional sugars that can leave your glucose levels elevated for hours. Beyond the immediate blood sugar impact, regular consumption of oatmeal can contribute to something called carbohydrate sensitivity. The more frequently you consume high-carbohydrate foods like oatmeal, the more sensitive your body becomes to their effects, leading to increasingly dramatic blood sugar responses over time. It's a progressive problem that silently worsens your diabetes management, month after month. What's particularly insidious about oatmeal is how strongly it's been promoted to people with diabetes. It's featured in countless diabetes management guides, recommended by well-meaning doctors, and highlighted in articles about natural approaches to blood sugar control. This creates a powerful cognitive dissonance. When your blood sugar rises after eating what you've been told is a perfect food for diabetes, you're likely to blame yourself or your condition rather than questioning the food itself. This misplaced guilt can lead to increased stress, and stress hormones like cortisol directly raise blood glucose levels, creating yet another layer of difficulty in managing your condition. It's a vicious cycle that begins with a simple bowl of what you thought was health-promoting oatmeal. And if you've been struggling with unexplained weight gain despite following a healthy diet that includes regular oatmeal, there's a reason for that too. The blood sugar spikes triggered by oatmeal stimulate insulin production. And as we've discussed, insulin is your body's primary fat storage hormone. More insulin circulating in your system means more of what you eat gets stored as fat, regardless of how careful you are with calories. So what's the alternative? Do you have to give up warm, comforting breakfast altogether? Absolutely not. Later in this video, I'll share blood sugar-friendly breakfast alternatives that can satisfy your morning hunger without compromising your diabetes management. Options that can help you start your day with stable energy and mental clarity rather than setting you up for a day of blood sugar roller coasters. Now, if oatmeal, the breakfast recommended specifically for diabetes management, can have these negative effects, what about something that's been hailed as a superfood, a nutrient-dense option that health experts recommend for everyone, including those with diabetes, but might be silently making your condition harder to control? Let's talk about quinoa. Food number 5. Quinoa. The protein pretender, quinoa, has been celebrated as a nutritional powerhouse, a plant-based complete protein that's perfect for everyone, including those with diabetes. It's gluten-free, packed with nutrients, and has a lower glycemic index than many grains. Sounds perfect, right? Unfortunately, for people with diabetes over 50, quinoa presents some hidden challenges that can make blood sugar management surprisingly difficult. Despite being marketed as a low glycemic food, quinoa still contains approximately 39 grams of carbohydrates per cup when cooked. That's a significant carbohydrate load for someone with diabetes, especially considering most people eat quinoa as a base for other foods, easily consuming more than 1 cup in a sitting. For someone over 50 with diabetes, whose insulin response is already compromised by both age and condition. These carbohydrates can cause a substantial rise in blood glucose levels, often lasting for several hours after consumption. You might have noticed unexplained high readings on days when you've included quinoa in your meals, despite it being recommended as a diabetes-friendly option. What makes quinoa particularly deceptive is its reputation as a high-protein food. While it does contain more protein than most grains, the actual amount is relatively modest, about 8 grams per cooked cup. This is far less than what you'd get from animal proteins or even many legumes. The high-protein marketing creates a false sense of security, leading many people with diabetes to consume larger portions than they should, thinking the protein content will offset the carbohydrate impact. But it doesn't. Those carbohydrates still get converted to glucose, and that glucose still needs to be managed by your already stressed insulin system. The result? Elevated blood sugar levels that seem inexplicable given quinoa's health food status. Beyond the direct blood sugar impact, quinoa contains compounds called saponins that can cause digestive distress in some individuals, particularly those over 50 whose digestive systems have naturally become more sensitive with age. This digestive stress triggers inflammation, and systemic inflammation worsens insulin resistance, making your diabetes progressively more difficult to control over time. You might experience bloating, gas, or abdominal discomfort after consuming quinoa, symptoms that are easy to misattribute to other causes if you're not paying close attention to how specific foods affect your body. This inflammation doesn't just make you feel uncomfortable, it actively works against your efforts to manage your diabetes naturally. And let's talk about weight management, a crucial component of diabetes control for most people. Despite its nutritional benefits, quinoa is relatively high in calories, providing about 222 calories per cup. If you're using it as a base for meals, perhaps replacing vegetables with quinoa thinking you're making a healthier choice, you might inadvertently be consuming more calories than your body needs, especially if your metabolism has slowed with age. Combined with the insulin-stimulating effects of its carbohydrate content, this caloric density can make weight management significantly more challenging, leading to the frustrating experience of gaining weight or hitting plateaus despite following what you believe is a nutritionally sound diet. What's particularly troubling is how strongly quinoa has been promoted to people with health concerns, including diabetes. It's featured in countless articles about superfoods for diabetes, recommended by nutritionists, and highlighted as an essential component of a healthy diet. This creates a powerful psychological barrier to recognizing its potential negative effects on your individual health situation. So if quinoa isn't the superfood it's cracked up to be for diabetes management after 50, what are better alternatives? Don't worry. I'll be sharing truly blood sugar-friendly options later in this video. Foods that can provide the nutrients you need without compromising your diabetes control. But first, let's expose another supposedly healthy choice that might be silently working against you. Now, if quinoa, with its superfood status, can be problematic, what about something even more universally recommended? A food that's been promoted as essential for heart health. Something particularly important for people with diabetes, who face elevated cardiovascular risks. A food you've probably been told to consume more of, not less. Let's talk about olive oil. Food number 6. Olive oil, the fat that fights your medication. Olive oil. It's the cornerstone of the Mediterranean diet, praised for its heart-healthy monounsaturated fats and antioxidant properties. It's recommended by cardiologists, featured in diabetes management guides, and considered a must-have in any health-conscious kitchen. But for people with diabetes over 50 who take certain medications, olive oil might be creating unexpected complications in your treatment plan. Here's what most people don't realize. Olive oil can interact with several common diabetes medications, reducing their effectiveness and potentially leading to unpredictable blood sugar levels. This is particularly true for people taking drugs like metformin, glipizide, or Januvia, medications that millions of diabetes patients rely on daily. The issue lies in how your body processes both fats and medications. When consumed together, the fat in olive oil can delay the absorption of your diabetes medication, altering its intended release pattern in your system. For some people, this means the medication doesn't reach peak effectiveness when it's supposed to, leaving blood sugar elevated for longer periods. You might have noticed this effect if you've ever taken your diabetes medication with a meal cooked with olive oil, then found your blood sugar readings higher than expected hours later. That's not a coincidence or a failure of your medication. It's a direct result of the interaction between the oil and your treatment. Beyond medication interactions, there's another rarely discussed aspect of olive oil consumption that can affect people with diabetes over 50 caloric density. Just 1 tablespoon of olive oil contains approximately 120 calories, and most recipes call for several tablespoons. This can add significant hidden calories to your diet, complicating weight management efforts that are crucial for diabetes control. If you've been struggling with unexplained weight gain or an inability to lose weight despite careful portion control and regular exercise, your liberal use of healthy olive oil might be part of the problem. Those extra calories add up quickly, especially if you've been deliberately increasing your olive oil consumption based on recommendations about its health benefits. What makes this particularly challenging is how olive oil is used in cooking. It's not just a salad dressing. It's used to sauté vegetables, marinate proteins, and finish dishes. Each application adds calories that are easy to overlook, but have real consequences for your metabolic health and diabetes management. And there's more. For some people with diabetes over 50, particularly those who also have gallbladder issues, a common comorbidity, the fat in olive oil can trigger digestive discomfort that increases inflammation throughout the body. This systemic inflammation directly worsens insulin resistance, making your diabetes progressively more difficult to control over time. You might experience unexpected digestive issues after meals cooked with olive oil, subtle discomfort that's easy to attribute to other causes if you're not carefully tracking how specific foods affect your body. This inflammation doesn't just make you feel uncomfortable, it actively works against your efforts to manage your diabetes naturally. What's most troubling is how strongly olive oil has been promoted as beneficial for people with diabetes. It's featured in countless articles about heart-healthy eating for diabetes, recommended by healthcare providers, and highlighted as an essential component of a diabetic diet. This creates a powerful psychological barrier to recognizing its potential negative effects on your individual health situation. Now, I'm not suggesting that olive oil is inherently harmful or that you should eliminate it completely. Rather, I'm advocating for awareness of its potential effects on medication absorption and caloric intake, allowing you to make informed decisions about when and how much to use based on your specific health needs. So if olive oil needs to be used more cautiously than we've been led to believe, what are better alternatives for cooking and flavoring your food? Don't worry, I'll be sharing truly diabetes-friendly options later in this video. Options that can deliver flavor without compromising your treatment effectiveness. But first, let's expose one final supposedly healthy food that might be silently working against your diabetes management efforts. Now, if olive oil, with its heart-healthy reputation, requires more caution than we thought, what about something even more universally praised? A food that's been called nature's perfect health food, recommended for virtually everyone but might pose unique challenges for people with diabetes over 50. Let's talk about Greek yogurt. Food number 7. Greek yogurt, the protein-sugar paradox. Greek yogurt has been hailed as a nutritional superstar, high in protein, low in carbohydrates, packed with beneficial probiotics, and perfect for blood sugar management. It's featured in countless diabetes-friendly meal plans and recommended by nutritionists worldwide as an ideal snack or breakfast option. But for many people with diabetes over 50, Greek yogurt presents some surprising challenges that can undermine your efforts to control your condition naturally. The first issue lies in the way Greek yogurt affects different individuals' blood sugar levels. While it's true that plain Greek yogurt contains less sugar than regular yogurt, it can still trigger significant glucose responses in some people with diabetes, particularly those who are more insulin resistant, a common situation for people over 50 who have had diabetes for several years. You might have noticed unexpected blood sugar elevations after consuming what you thought was a safe Greek yogurt breakfast or snack. That's not a fluke or a failure of your diabetes management. It's a personalized metabolic response that highlights how individual our glucose reactions can be, especially as we age with diabetes. The problem gets substantially worse when you consider how Greek yogurt is typically consumed. Few people eat plain, unsweetened Greek yogurt. Most opt for varieties with added fruit, honey, or other sweeteners, or they add these elements themselves at home. Even the low-sugar flavored options can contain 10-15 grams of added sugars per serving, enough to cause significant blood glucose elevations in someone with diabetes. Beyond the direct blood sugar impact, there's another aspect of Greek yogurt that rarely gets discussed: its potential to trigger dairy sensitivities in people over 50. As we age, our production of lactase, the enzyme needed to digest dairy properly, naturally decreases. For many people with diabetes who already deal with various forms of systemic inflammation, this can mean that dairy products like Greek yogurt trigger inflammatory responses that directly worsen insulin resistance. You might experience subtle, digestive discomfort after consuming Greek yogurt, bloating, gas, or mild abdominal pain that's easy to attribute to other causes if you're not carefully tracking how specific foods affect your body. This inflammation doesn't just make you feel uncomfortable, it actively works against your efforts to manage your diabetes naturally. What's particularly misleading about Greek yogurt is how strongly it's been promoted specifically for diabetes management. It's featured in countless articles about protein-rich foods for stable blood sugar, recommended in diabetes education programs, and highlighted as an essential component of a blood sugar-friendly diet. This creates a powerful psychological barrier to recognizing its potential negative effects on your individual health situation. And for those taking certain diabetes medications, particularly newer GLP-1 receptor agonists like Ozempic or Trulicity, the high protein content of Greek yogurt can sometimes intensify the medication's effects on slowing gastric emptying. This can lead to increased feelings of fullness that persist uncomfortably long, or even nausea in some individuals, symptoms that are easy to misattribute to the medication itself rather than the interaction between the medication and the food. If you've experienced unexplained digestive discomfort while on these medications, particularly after meals containing Greek yogurt, this interaction might be part of the explanation. So if Greek yogurt isn't the perfect diabetes food it's been made out to be, what are better alternatives for getting the protein and probiotics you need without compromising your blood sugar control? Don't worry, I'll be sharing truly diabetes-friendly options shortly. Options that can deliver nutrition without triggering inflammation or unexpected glucose responses. Now that we've exposed these 7 supposedly healthy foods that might be sabotaging your diabetes management efforts, let's shift the focus to what you can eat. Because the right foods don't just avoid harm, they actively help heal your body and improve your condition. What people with diabetes over 50 should eat. Instead, the healing alternatives. Now that you know which foods to approach with caution, let's shift focus to what you can eat. Because the right foods don't just fill your stomach, they can actually help improve your diabetes management naturally. Let's start with alternatives that can truly support your health after 50 with diabetes. Instead of agave nectar, consider using small amounts of stevia or monk fruit extract. These natural sweeteners don't raise blood sugar levels at all, yet provide the sweetness you crave. Just a few drops can transform the flavor of your beverages or recipes without impacting your glucose levels or triggering the insulin resistance that worsens diabetes over time. Looking for an alternative to whole wheat bread? Consider using lettuce wraps, nori sheets, or collard greens as wrappers for your sandwich fillings. These provide fiber, nutrients, and satisfying crunch without the blood sugar impact of wheat products. For a warm, bread-like experience, almond flour or coconut flour baked goods contain significantly fewer carbohydrates and have minimal impact on blood glucose compared to wheat-based products. If you've been relying on bananas for potassium and quick energy, consider avocados instead. They provide even more potassium than bananas, along with healthy fats that don't spike your blood sugar. Berries like strawberries, blackberries, and blueberries offer sweetness with a fraction of the sugar content of bananas, along with powerful antioxidants that can help reduce the inflammation associated with diabetes. Need an alternative to traditional oatmeal for breakfast? Try chia seed pudding made with unsweetened almond milk, or a warm bowl of ground flaxseed porridge flavored with cinnamon and vanilla. These options provide fiber and nutrients without the substantial carbohydrate load of oats, helping you start your day with stable blood sugar and sustained energy. Instead of quinoa as your dinner base, consider cauliflower rice or spiralized zucchini noodles. These vegetable-based alternatives provide the satisfying texture and versatility of grains with a fraction of the carbohydrates, allowing you to build meals that won't compromise your blood sugar control. For protein content, rely on eggs, fish, poultry, or tofu, rather than expecting significant protein from grain-like foods. Concerned about olive oil? Try using small amounts of grass-fed butter or ghee for cooking, or avocado oil, which has a higher smoke point and fewer compounds that might interact with medications. Always take your diabetes medications as directed by your healthcare provider, and be consistent with how you use fats in relation to your medication timing to maintain predictable absorption patterns. And if Greek yogurt has been your go-to for protein and probiotics, consider alternatives like unsweetened coconut yogurt with added protein powder, or fermented vegetables like kimchi and sauerkraut for probiotic benefits without the potential dairy inflammation. Bone broth can provide protein and gut healing properties without any carbohydrate impact whatsoever. Beyond these specific substitutions, there are several foods that actively support better blood sugar control for people with diabetes over 50. Leafy greens like spinach, kale, and Swiss chard are packed with magnesium, a mineral that helps improve insulin sensitivity and is often deficient in people with diabetes. Including a large serving of these foods with every meal can significantly improve your glucose readings over time. Cinnamon isn't just a delicious spice, it contains compounds that mimic insulin and help transport glucose into your cells more effectively. Just half a teaspoon daily has been shown in some studies to improve insulin sensitivity and lower fasting blood sugar levels. Wild-caught fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines provide omega-3 fatty acids that reduce inflammation throughout the body, helping to improve insulin sensitivity and potentially reducing the amount of medication needed to manage your diabetes. Aim for at least 2 servings weekly for noticeable benefits. Garlic and onions contain allicin and other sulfur, compounds that have been shown to help lower blood sugar and improve insulin sensitivity. Using these liberally in your cooking not only enhances flavor, but actively supports better diabetes management. Apple cider vinegar, particularly the unfiltered variety with the mother, can significantly improve insulin sensitivity when consumed before meals. Just 1 tablespoon in a glass of water before eating can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes by as much as 20% in some people with diabetes. And don't forget about the power of timing. For many people with diabetes over 50, when you eat can be just as important as what you eat. Consider consolidating your meals into a narrower eating window, perhaps 8-10 hours daily, to give your pancreas and insulin system regular periods of rest and recovery. This approach, sometimes called time-restricted eating, has shown remarkable benefits for blood sugar control in multiple studies. Remember, it's not just about eating perfectly, it's about finding an approach that works for your unique body and circumstances. Test your blood sugar regularly to see how different foods affect you personally, and don't be afraid to adjust your diet based on those results, even if it means going against conventional diabetes diet wisdom that might not be working for you. Each of these foods and strategies works with your body, not against it. They don't trigger dramatic blood sugar spikes, they don't promote inflammation, and they don't complicate your medication effectiveness. They support the very stability, energy, and wellness your body is craving. When you make these choices intentionally, you start to feel it. More consistent energy, better sleep, clearer thinking, and blood sugar readings that make more sense given your efforts. Remember, it's not just about avoiding certain foods. It's about embracing the ones that match your body's needs at this stage of life. Foods that work with your current metabolism, not against it. And when you make those choices consistently, remarkable improvements become possible.